The Immortal John Hancock here, and thought I'd do a pickups video of kind of what I found at Cowlitz Gamers for kids, as well as a box that was just sent to me. And so, first of all, I just want to thank Jim Snow. Jim Snow, that was a really sweet letter that you sent. Most appreciated. And he sent some really cool things in this box. And you know, it's really, I'm grateful for anything that anybody wants to send me. And you know, he had a nice letter to go with it, so thank you so much. And so one of the things he sent me was the Innovation GunCon foot pedal in box. You don't see that often, and so very cool. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for sending that. He also sent me a couple Mega Drive games, and very cool, including my favorite Sega Genesis game, now on Mega Drive, which I didn't have. I don't have a lot of Mega Drive versions of Sega Genesis games. Streets of Rage 2, very cool. Toe Jam and Earl, Panic on Funkatron. Very cool. Nice to have that case. And Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, the Hyperstone Heist. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles couldn't be called that overseas, and it had to do with like a ninja, and I do believe couldn't be marketed towards kids. There's like some other things to go with it too, but anyways, yeah, very cool. Also though, he donated 2 boxes to my Nintendo collection I didn't have. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and it completes those. Thank you so much. And A Nightmare on Elm Street, and I didn't have either one of those boxes, so thank you so much, Jim. Alright, at the show, awesome stuff. You know, I go around and there was just some great variety. And so, first of all, the big theme I think this year for the show was Nintendo Complete in Box games. And so there was a great variety there from a couple vendors and close friends of mine. Josh Byerly, who's gone to almost all the Cowlitz Gamers Expos, had some great Nintendo games, and some of those games came from a close friend of mine, and so they worked out a deal. And anyways, it's great. Got some box upgrades. Kabuki Quantum Fighter was a box upgrade for me. My box was messed up. I was able to get a better boxed Uninvited, which is a pretty hard to get one. My Conan, which there's several videos in there, you'll see a box that has like a scratched out top. It's my Conan box. And so some of these came from Josh, which were indirectly from another collector, Jeremiah. And Jeremiah was a longtime friend that I used to collect Nintendo games with back in the day. So Jeremiah, if you're watching, hello friend, hope you're doing okay. And one of these is Jetsons. A box for my Jetsons, finally. Journey to Silas, so got a box for that finally, yay! So also some other box upgrades. Monster Truck Rally, done by INTV Corporation. Werewolf, Predator, Tag and Dragon. Usually find these are like sun faded, so it's nice to, some of these are, and Solitaire, another hard one to get. Those are some box upgrades. I love getting that weird stuff. More box upgrades. Bugs Bunny's Birthday Blowout. Mine was crushed a little bit. And Jaws. That's a nice box upgrade. Alright, so there's some great people from around the Northwest there, and Eric Jensen, and so he is one of the organizers of the 64 Bits or Less in Corvallis, which I'll be attending this summer. It's kind of an outdoor activity with games and beer. And so, yes, he was there. He donated some things to my collection. And what's kind of strange about this is these are French-Canadian Microvision games, and they have, you know, some different labels on the actual game. So Star Trek Phaser, it's Canon Phaser. Star Trek Phaser Strike. We have Blockbuster. Connect 4. Pinball. And bowling. I thought that was pretty neat. Alright, just some great stuff. Also, I got some box upgrades for my N64. And I got a really nice unboxed Castlevania. South Park Chef's Love Shack. And so a lot of my boxes came from a rental store. And some of them, about 13 out of my collection had a little bit of sun fade on them. And so Paul of 8-Bit Fix also was one of the vendors at the show, and he hooked me up with a sealed Load Runner, and I'm going for an Atari XCGS collection, and it's really tough to collect that. And there's 31 games in the set, and I'm missing, I think, 5. Some of them are easy to get, but the top 3 that are very tough to find is Summer Games, Karateka, and a box and manual for Mario Brothers. And so those are the tougher ones to track down, but I'm getting near a collection. I'm just thankful to add to my collection. And so Dark Chamber is really cool. Plays like Gauntlet, and there's a whole story about that and how those 2 games are connected. And so very neat. Alright, next up, also got donated a box of Intellivision games. And here it is. Here's the box. And, you know, I'm essentially just doing some box upgrades to my collection. My Intellivision's missing several of the kind of the more expensive games, but having a Sewer Sam and Blockade Runner box upgrades, you know, very cool. There's some Magic games in here, Safe Cracker, Dreadnought Factor. There's those are some of the big ones that I'm going to go through and see if my boxes are better or not. The rest I'm donating to a friend. Just going to kick them down and pass them on. And that's typically what I do with extras, is I'll give them to friends. Sometimes I trade. Sometimes I trade for things I'm looking for, depending on what it is. I'm saving up for some high-end items right now, and you know, that's kind of what I do with my extras. And so a lot of people ask, well, what do you do with them? Yeah, give them away, trade, etc. And so typically that's, or especially if it's donated, I typically usually give that away to someone else. And so that's how I roll. All right, next up, Computer War. Commodore VIC-20 didn't have it. That was part of the donation with the Intellivision boxes. Really cool. I also got another Ouya, and you're probably wondering, well, why did you get another Ouya? Well, it's mostly for the controllers, and so I like having multiple controllers so I can play games like Towerfall. For people who have an Ouya, they still have the games available. You still can, I do believe the servers are still up. You can also do lots of things with an Ouya even if the servers aren't up, but this Ouya in particular had some type of like sticker on it, made it more wood grain. I thought that was really interesting, so that's half the reason I picked it up. But came with a controller. That's cool. I'm still looking for a development console. I do collect for the Ouya. I'm always adding to my Lynx collection. My box Lynx collection is growing. I'm getting down to about the final 20 or so. I was able to find Battle Wheels in box sealed. Pretty hard to get. There was some cool Lynx stuff at the show. Really nice to see that. Amiga CD32 games. I know, hard to find. And so found a couple at the show. Found 4 to be exact. Arabian Nights. Kind of a neat little platformer. Simon the Sorcerer. Mean Arenas. And last and not least, Alien Breed 3D. Now this is really cool and a unique box, because what they did, these big box PC Amiga games, what's cool, they had a couple of them that were both Amiga and Amiga CD32. Now it came with the registration warranty card and the manual. What's really neat though is it came with a code book. This is cool, and on the back it's like has this like table, and I think they used that for piracy because piracy was really a big deal back then. The Amiga CD32 jewel case and the actual Amiga discs. Now this was compatible with the Amiga 1200 and the 4000, and there was a couple different modes I think we were able to. So really neat to see that. Team 17. I just love seeing stuff like that. That's really the kind of the oddball stuff. This is probably, if you're going to ask me what's the one thing that you're really glad you got at the show, it was this. You know, finding these big box PC games in the States, pretty tough. But I love Amiga CD32. I have about 20 games in my collection, and so finding that, definitely got it. Alright, next up. Last and definitely not least, I scored 2 stacks of magazines, and it's tough. And some of these are in a little rough shape, but they're great for reading. I love reading old advertisements and reviews from the 90s, and so these go back. Video Games and Computer Entertainment was a magazine I read back in the day, and there's a stack of these, and this one's from June of 1990, and they bounce around. Oh, look at that. Bird and Jordan, awesome. Larry Bird, my favorite basketball player of all time. And then like advertisement on the back, Heavy Barrel. I used to own a Heavy Barrel arcade machine, and when I moved from California to Washington, I gave it away. So yeah, couldn't fit into the U-Haul. Alright, next up, the final stack of magazines. Now my magazine collection is eclectic. I have stuff from old EGMs, I have, you know, Atari Age, I have all sorts of just cool stuff, just random assortment. But it's really neat to see Game Informer magazines, and they're getting harder to find. This is, you know, an early one, and they didn't use this format too long. This is from September, October 92, when they're $4. And so finding a stack of old Game Informers, especially the ones that are before, like, I think I started my subscription around 80 or so, and so I've had one since. You know, it's cool that they've survived and were able to make it to issue 300. And so yeah, to find an old Game Informer back in the day, really cool to see that. Gosh, that's a long time ago. So congrats on that magazine surviving. So that's it. That's what I found. Thank you so much for people tuning in as I march towards 60,000 subs. You know, and I'd like to just say thank you for keeping the praise going. And some of you came up to the show and thanked me, and I got some great stuff coming. I just have some time off this week. I'm recharging my batteries and continuing to provide content. So thank you so much for tuning in around the world. This is the Immortal John Hancock. You take care.